Namaskar. Very good afternoon. Dear learners, I Dr. Renu Tomar welcome you back in live lectures. Friends, as you know that we have been talking about organization behavior in management of school. So in this series, I welcome you to part 6 of the series of lectures on OB in school. Friends, we have been talking about scope of OB in school. While talking about scope of organization behavior in school, we have been talking about that one of the scope of studying OB as well as following organization behavior or in the school organization is as to understand effective teams and groups. So, on what we have been talking in my previous lecture, I will just recap for you to understand that what we have been talking about. When we talked about how the person has to create the effective teams and group. So in that we talked about the leadership role the person has to take, how the others' ideas have to be taken, the brainstorming should be there in the organization, the unspoken words of the employees have to be taken into consideration by the leader in such a manner that all the subordinates feel the same way. That means they respect the person who is not able to articulate one's own idea, so that the person does articulate in the long run. Apart from that, we also understood that in our organization there is going to be the minor disputes. So the school manager or the principal will be working as a harmonizing agent as to influence the behavior of the others. Another important aspect when we talked about creating the team was that for creating a team, the person should be able to articulate one's own directives well. So that means the person should be able to communicate well. For communicate well, that means the person should be able to direct as far as action is concerned and also take the people for the goal achievement within the time frame. Another important aspect when we talk about creating the team is that the person is able to encourage trust amongst the subordinates, have cooperation amongst the employee in one's own team. And when we talked about team, we understood that as soon as the team begins to take the shape, the role of the individual becomes very important, because person has to work together and take steps to improve communication, cooperation, trust and respect in those relationships. So the person has to encourage team members in such a manner that the people feel with the team to such an extent that the information is also shared easily, to such an extent that the people believe in the team, the people believe in the leader, the people believe in the organizational goal, and all other aspects become secondary to that. The person has to be good at delegating. So delegating problem solving tasks to the team is most important, and to delegate there has to be good team, and the team should be believing in that individual. So when the team work on creating solutions together, only then their delegation of problem solving tasks can be there. Another important characteristics when we talk about creating the team was that the person as a leader has to facilitate communication. Facilitate communication means have the formal network of communication. That means the written communication or even the verbal communication, the channel has to be created. Apart from having the channel can be through the meetings, through the written mechanism, through the email, that has to be set in place. And apart from that, the communication which is informal but still in the interest of the organization, that also needs to be promoted by asking questions, by offering help, by doing everything one can to avoid confusion one's own communication. That has to be done to facilitate communication. Then as a leader of the team, the individual also need to establish team values and goals, and to do that the team's values have to be in place, and that can only be possible if the team itself has decided the values and there has been say of all the people who are part of the team in deciding the goals also. Then there has to be a mechanism to evaluate team performance. That mechanism can be decided by the team at large, and usually it should be done by the team itself. That means the team should be deciding the mechanism. If they do that, then naturally they would feel more with the values and goals of the organization as well as the team. And if they feel more, then naturally the performance would always be high. So, the individual as a leader, one should be discussing the progress, one should be moving forward on the established goal, so that the employees get sense of both of their success as well as challenges that lies ahead. For this, the manager or the leader, because here when we are talking about the school principal, we are visualizing the school principal to be a leader. That kind of school leader generally care about one's own performance as well as the performance of the organization and performance of one's own team. So, the person would be holding discussion with the team that while performing their job, what are the important attributes, what do they really care for, and how that can be strengthened so that performance can be improved. Another important question which the team leader needs to ponder with one's own team is that what does success means to the team. There is huge probability if the vision and goals have not been decided with the help of the team, then the success may not be achieved to such an extent as it is aimed to be. The reason would be that the success of the team is different. The concept of success for the team is different from the concept of success for the team leader. So, that has to be discussed with the team, so that both of them are, that means the subordinates, all the subordinates and the leader, the team leader is on the same page. Another important characteristic is that what actions he or she can take to live up to one's own stated values. So, those actions have to be discussed, so that every individual decides one own plan of action. Only then the person would be cultured to live up to those values, because if those values have been decided by the individual on his own, then naturally the person would be easily accomplishing them and actions would be easily taken by that individual. Another important aspect when we talk about creating the team, managing the team or taking the team to the success goal is that the leader has to make sure that not just a leader have the clear idea, but also all the people have clear idea, all the team members have the clear idea of what they need to accomplish. So, deciding standard for success, establishing clear time frames and understanding one's own responsibilities by each member is an important aspect. For that, consensus has to be used. That means in consensus, objectives have to be settled, problems are to be solved and plan for action is to be decided. Friends, in this usually the problem which is cited by certain experts or the principals is that when they try to have the consensus, it is seen that the people or the decision making goes out of their hand or the management becomes very difficult or chaos. So, that is why when we talk about leader, we said that the persona plays a very important role, and that persona means the person whosoever is at the helm of the affair, that means the person who is guiding others, that person becomes capable of guiding others only if the person knows the work well. If the person is better than the team, the subordinates, then the team will follow them in a better possible manner, because they will believe that the person whosoever is guiding them, that person has more information, more knowledge and more capability. So, that then they would easily follow that person. So, it takes much longer to establish consensus. This method but ultimately provides better decisions and greater productivity, because it secures each subordinate's employee to all phase of work. For this, the most important thing is that you have to control the working of each individual, because having consensus, making them believe in the purpose, fine. Now, acting on that purpose needs not only the intrinsic motivation, but also for more than half of the people, extrinsic motivation as well as the control mechanism would be needed. For this, ground rules have to be settled, norms have to be in place, and to ensure efficiency and success, the directives have to be in place. The directives can vary from very simple to being punctual, or follow the guidelines, or giving the best ideas or suggestions. So, they can be very simple from being just disciplined practically, that is disciplined in coming to the being punctual to the office or being punctual to the meetings, but they can be so complex that the individual is so much involved in the organization that the person gives the best ideas and best suggestions to the best of their knowledge, and also tries to accomplish whatever is decided in consensus by all the team members. For this, the school manager or the school leader has to make sure that the team creates these ground rules by consensus and commits to them, both as a group and as individuals. Another important characteristics when we talk about team building and managing the team or taking the team to the success is encouraging listening and brainstorming. The good leader is the one who speaks less and listens more, and he listens, but the decision is ultimately taken by him or her only. So, brainstorming is allowed, and the open debate is there amongst the team members. That forum is available to each employee in the organization to such an extent that every employee can speak one's mind freely. Despite the fact, in the organization usually the fear is that the employees are often afraid to disagree with one another, because they are afraid that if they disagree, then they might have the loss of personal relationship with those individuals. But the result of that is not because the fact that there isn't any kind of a disagreement, the decision which is taken is usually mediocre. So, to have the best decision, there has to be culture in an organization where they can debate openly, they can come out with their ideas openly, and that way the leader has to inspire others by being creative, by disagreeing as well as agreeing with the people openly. So, if as a leader one will spur for the better result, then listening has to be encouraged and brainstorming has to be encouraged, and consensus building sessions have to be there. After brainstorming, all the options can be simply written down, and after having written down those consensus, the team members can themselves filter the practical decisions and achievable decisions, or prioritize the decisions, and accordingly they can come down to the decisions after the meetings, and they can also establish time limits and work with each other so that they are able to achieve better result. But all those things have to be decided in the outset of meetings only. That means the team members have to be sensitive to every individual's viewpoint, and every individual viewpoint have to be given the same amount of respect, and every individual, whosoever is giving one's own viewpoint, has to be open to accept the others' viewpoint in such a manner that if others' viewpoint is better than theirs, then they should be open to it. They should be probing one's own understanding, also one's own learning, and discovering one's own feelings also in the group. Discovering real feelings should also go simultaneously, so that the proposed solution which is there, that is in the best interest of the organization as well as the team, and that proposal is the best decision for all the people who are involved. That means the people take initiative and work to achieve that particular decision which has been taken in consensus. For this, it is at times it is seen that the individual also need to understand what kind of organization structure we have. Now, let us talk about another scope of OB, which is organizational structure. This is also scope of OB. Organization behavior tries to understand different organizational structures in such a manner that it provides the different organizational structures as it exists in different organizations, in different situations, in different as well as in different areas. Like in the finance, we will have the different kind of organization structures. We have different kind of organization structures. In the military forces, we have different kind of organization structures. In the academia, so all those organization structures are studied by OB, so that the individual understand, the student of OB, who is usually the person who wants to cultivate the strength, one's own strength, as to deal with the working of the organization in such a manner that the goals can be achieved in the best possible, the objectives can be achieved in the best possible manner, because ultimately OB aims at achieving of goals only, achieving of organizational objectives only. For that, the dynamics of the organization is studied as a part and parcel of OB. Apart from that, OB also try to understand that how that organization can work in the best possible manner by systematizing it, by providing scientific solutions, so that the individual understand that what are the expectations one can keep while deciding certain system. So, now to talk about organization structure. When we talk about organization structure, as we said, that organization structure is basically decided by the fact that what kind of objective the organization has, what kind of organizational actions the organization is taking, what kind of foundation that has. That means the SOPs, that is standard operating procedures, and the routines usually rest on the organizational structure, and organizational structure drives its strength from those SOPs. So, SOPs, that is standard operating procedures, and the routines or the practices or the procedures are the strength of the organizational structure, and organizational structure is strengthened further or created as to strengthen SOPs and routines further. Now, to understand that how organizational structure can determine the objectives. The organization structure determines what individual needs to do. It determines what amount of decision making authority is being given to every individual. It also decides to what level the individual will participate in decision making and processes. It also decides to what extent their views will shape the organization's actions. It also decides that how individual perceives one an organization, or what kind of work that individual is doing in an organization, and how both organization and the individual are influencing the environment which exists within it. Because when we talk about environment in an organization, it is usually result of two aspects. One is the kind of a human relationship we have in the organization, and what kind of clarity of cause and effect, that is clarity on the objectives, the time limits, the clarity on the action plan. If that exists, then the environment will be much more positive. So, organization structure is something which decides how those things are to be decided. The objectives have to be decided, the placement of the individual has to be decided, the authority or autonomy which is to be given to the individual, that has to be decided. Even the assessment of the individual and assessment of the work is also decided by through creating organization structure. So, organization structure can be perceived as a viewing class or a perspective through which individual sees their organization as well as how the outsider sees the organization. An organization can be structured in a different manners depending on its objectives. For example, we have a structure in the military forces which provides certain level of decision making to every different level of the people who are there. Organization structure allows an individual to express as well as allocate the responsibility for different functions and processes. It makes things easy for the individual or the leader or the people from outside by dividing the organization into departments, into the branches, into the work group, or making it individual oriented. To discuss about the organization structure, we need to understand that the organization structure is not something which, if it is decided for once, it will stay the same way. No. Efficient organization structure is the one which is flexible, innovative, as well as caring. Only then we can have the sustainable competitive advantages, because that is something which every organization is aiming at. When we talk about here, because we are discussing about school, we have to understand that even the school or any other academic organization is competing with the other organization. They are competing with the other organization in such a manner that they have to sustain for the long run and remain the leader. They are aspiring to become the leader in that particular zone. Here, when we are talking about the schools, we are talking about the academic zone. So, all the schools are competing with each other to prove themselves to be the better than the other. So, because they are competing, so we have to have the structure which provides the strength to the people who are concerned about or who are working to achieve the objectives of the organization. Now, to briefly discuss about the structures which are generally have, which is usually called pre-bureaucratic or a simple kind of a structure of the organization, which is generally there in the startups or the smaller organizations where there are very few people involved. So, the decision making stands with that is usually with the one person only, and the structure is totally centralized. The problems are also shared with the few people who are responsible for the for all the affairs in that organization, and also they are the problem solvers, also they are the people whom others are working to strengthen, and they are the person who are centered at taking the organization ahead. So, in small business organization or in small organization, suppose when we talk about the school which has only which has just started and just have only 50 students and only 5 teachers, then naturally what kind of structure can we have? We cannot have departmentalized structure, or we cannot have the branch wise structure. Here we will need the kind of a structure which is very simple, entrepreneurial kind of a structure which is very simple, and where all the people are talking and decision is being taken by one person. That is usually the principle. Another kind of structure which we have is the where the person decides on the basis of the power or the position which he or she has been given based upon the duties which have been assigned to the individual. that is completely different from this pre-bureaucratic structure. Bureaucratic decision making is not having so much openness in the system. They don't communicate so much. There is not much scope for one-to-one conversation. In fact, the decisions are taken based upon the responsibilities which are given to every individual, and that is usually specialization oriented. The workforce there are specialized. Most of the small to medium sized organization implement a functional structure. In functional structure, which is also referred as bureaucratic organization, we have branches, or we have different departments. When the school has grown, then we have the mathematics department, we have the English department, we have the Hindi department. So, in schools also we can have functional structure depending upon the requirement or the vision of the school or the objective of the school. Then there is a third kind of structure, which is divisional or multi-divisional structure. In that there are multi-divisions based upon the projects, based upon the products. To implement it in the school, it will be multidivisional. In multidivisional, there would be, like when we divide the school into different secondary level, senior secondary level, middle level, primary level and pre-primary level, and that is further divided into the departments, mathematics department, English department. So, that is going to be the multidivisional structure. It was an example of multidivisional in the school itself, because in that school the number of students will also be large, the teachers operating will also be large. So, accordingly we will have the head of those school divisions also will also be there. They will be head of the primary school, they will be head of the secondary school, they will be head of the senior secondary school. Then there is line and staff organization. Line and staff organization, when we talk about academic organization, then the teachers are generally the people who are functional, who are specialists. They are the people who understand the education well. So, they are at the center, they are the one who are doing all the academic activity, and the non-teaching staff which is there, that is providing advantage, that is working to make their work easy. So, that is the line and staff organization. So, line is non-teaching and staff is the teaching over here. Then we have the matrix structure. Matrix structure means we will have lot of subordinates, we will have lot of superiors, we will have lot of divisions, we will have lot of departments, there will be whole lot of hierarchy, and the result will be there would be decision making taking place, and due to matrix structure there would be difficulty in communicating. Usually matrix structure has to be avoided, particularly in academic organization, because it makes things difficult as well as communication very difficult for the people at large. Friends, on this note, after having discussed all the structures with you, I, Dr. Renu Tomar, shall be signing off with the promise to continue with the series of lectures on organization behavior in management of school. Namaskar, Jai Hind, very good afternoon, stay safe, stay healthy.